First contact. The first anomaly was detected on a rainy Tuesday in November by the quantum array in the Chilean Andes. At precisely 3:17 a.m. local time, all 37 radio telescopes simultaneously registered a signal that defied conventional understanding. Dr. Victor Novik stared at his monitor, his weathered face illuminated by the pulsing data visualization. At 58, with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen the birth of stars through the world's most powerful telescopes, Victor was not easily impressed. But this was different. "Run the verification sequence again," he instructed his team, voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. The International Astronomical Collaborative Facility hummed with tension as the world's brightest minds converged on the mystery. "It's consistent, Dr. Novik," replied Dr. Junko Watanabe, her fingers dancing across her keyboard. "The signal repeats at precisely 7.832-second intervals. It's not natural." "And definitely not ours," added Dr. Francis Okonkwo, the quantum physics specialist. His normally cheerful demeanor had given way to professional intensity. "This signal is utilizing quantum entanglement principles we've only theorized about." Within hours, observatories across the globe confirmed the findings. By Wednesday evening, the signal had intensified tenfold. By Thursday morning, it had changed, becoming more complex, more deliberate. "It's a language," Victor announced to the emergency session of the United Nations Scientific Council. "Or at least, an attempt at communication." The UN Secretary-General, Gabriela Morales, leaned forward, her expression grave. "Are you certain?" "As certain as we can be," Victor replied. "The pattern evolution follows mathematical progressions we use in our own attempts to communicate with potential extraterrestrial intelligence." The ripples of this revelation spread through the highest levels of government. In Washington, D.C., Admiral Josephine Wu was roused from sleep at 4 a.m. by a direct call from the president. "Admiral, effective immediately, you're being reassigned to head the Global Response Initiative," the president informed her. "Your background in strategic operations and xenolinguistics makes you uniquely qualified." Admiral Wu, a compact woman of 53 with an unflappable demeanor and a mind as sharp as a tactical knife, acknowledged without hesitation. By sunrise, she was airborne, headed for the United Nations headquarters in New York. As the world's militaries went on high alert and stock markets plummeted, ordinary citizens looked to the skies with a mixture of fear and wonder. Social media exploded with theories, ranging from divine intervention to doomsday predictions. On Friday, at precisely noon GMT, every digital screen on the planet flickered momentarily before displaying the same message in every known human language. "We approach, prepare for arrival. We seek sanctuary." The message was followed by coordinates in the Pacific Ocean, 500 miles west of the Galapagos Islands, and a timestamp, 72 hours. Admiral Wu stood on the bridge of the USS Prometheus, the most advanced vessel in the American fleet, watching as an international armada assembled at the designated coordinates. Ships from 27 nations, from Chinese destroyers to Brazilian research vessels, formed a loose semicircle facing the empty expanse of ocean. "Anything on radar?" she asked her executive officer, Commander Darius Jackson. "Nothing yet, Admiral, but the quantum fluctuations are off the charts. Dr. Novik's team says it indicates a distortion in spacetime approximately 300 kilometers above our position." Wu nodded, her expression betraying nothing of the tension she felt. Humanity had spent centuries wondering if they were alone in the universe. In the next few hours, they would have their answer. The arrival, when it came, defied all expectations. There was no massive ship descending from the clouds, no dramatic parting of the waters. Instead, the air simply rippled like heat rising from asphalt on a summer day. And then it was there, a vessel of impossible proportions, hovering 10 meters above the ocean's surface. It resembled nothing so much as a massive, iridescent nautilus shell, spiraling outward from a central point, its surface shifting with colors that seemed to exist just beyond human perception. Mother of God, whispered Commander Jackson. Open all communication channels, ordered Admiral Wu, her voice steady. Broadcast our first contact protocol. Before the message could be sent, a beam of light emerged from the vessel, projecting a figure onto the deck of the Prometheus, a hologram of startling realism. The being stood nearly 8 feet tall, humanoid but clearly alien. Its body was slender, almost delicate, with skin that seemed to pulse with an inner luminescence. 4 arms extended gracefully from its torso, and its face featured large, almond-shaped eyes that contained what looked like galaxies swirling in their depths. I am Zevran, emissary of the Viraji Collective, the being spoke, its voice resonating not through the air but seemingly directly within the minds of all present. We come in peace and desperation. Admiral Wu stepped forward. I am Admiral Josephine Wu, representing the United Earth Response Coalition. We welcome you and seek to understand your arrival. Zevran inclined its head in what might have been a gesture of respect. Understanding is what we seek as well, Admiral. We are refugees, the last survivors of a civilization that spanned 3 spiral arms of our galaxy. The revelation sent murmurs through the assembled officers. Admiral Wu maintained her composure. What has brought you to Earth, so far from your home? The alien's luminescence dimmed perceptibly. Extinction, not by war or natural disaster, but by something far worse, a cosmic aberration we call the Void Echo. It consumes not just matter and energy, but reality itself. Worlds touched by the echo simply cease to exist, erased from the cosmic tapestry as if they never were. In the days that followed, the Viraji shared their story through a series of diplomatic exchanges. They described a vast interstellar civilization that had achieved technological marvels beyond human comprehension, faster than light travel, Dyson spheres harnessing the energy of entire stars, and artificial worlds orbiting gas giants throughout their territory. Then came what they called the silencing. Outer colonies stopped responding to communications. Investigation fleets found nothing but empty space where thriving worlds had once existed. The silencing spread inward, consuming system after system. Our scientists believe the echo is a tear in the fabric of reality itself, Zevran explained to the United Nations Assembly, its holographic form towering over the podium. A negation wave that unravels existence. We fought with weapons that could redirect stellar energy and manipulate gravity, but nothing stopped its advance. In desperation, we gathered our remaining population aboard arcs and fled across the galaxy. Earth was not chosen randomly. Your planet possesses unique properties, including a magnetic field and biosphere that may resist the echo's influence. The revelation sparked global debate. Some nations welcomed the opportunity to help a desperate species and gain access to their advanced technology. Others suspected a trap, pointing out that the Viraji had yet to provide concrete evidence of the threat pursuing them. At the International Astronomical Collaborative Facility in Chile, Dr. Victor Novak worked tirelessly with a team of scientists to verify the aliens' claims. Something about their story nagged at him. Inconsistencies in the timeline, vague descriptions of the echo, contradictory explanations of their technology. Their language patterns bother me, he confided to Admiral Wu during a secure video conference. They use perfect syntax in every human language, yet their descriptions of key concepts are frustratingly imprecise. Could it be translation issues? Wu suggested. Possibly, but I've analyzed recordings of their direct mental communications. The imprecision exists there too, specifically around anything related to the echo or their escape from it. Wu nodded thoughtfully. Keep digging, Victor. I've got my own concerns. The Viraji are requesting permission to bring their fleet into Earth orbit, supposedly to establish better communications and begin cultural exchange. The Security Council is divided. What does your gut tell you, Josephine? The Admiral's expression hardened. That we're not getting the full story. I've been studying their vessel. It's designed for something, but I'm not convinced it's refugee transport. There are structures consistent with weapons platforms, though unlike any weapons humanity has conceived. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. During a cultural exchange event at the newly established Viragi Embassy in Geneva, 12-year-old Thiago Esposito, son of the Italian ambassador, approached one of the smaller aliens during a demonstration of alien art. "Why does your picture have no shadows?" the boy asked innocently, pointing to a luminous display that seemed to show a landscape from the alien's homeworld. The alien, identified as a knowledge keeper named Nethvar, froze momentarily, its skin pulsing with rapid color changes. "Shadows are not part of our aesthetic tradition," it answered finally. Thiago persisted with the curiosity only a child could maintain. "But everything has shadows where light doesn't reach. Don't you have light on your world?" Nethvar's response was cut short by the arrival of Zevran, who smoothly redirected the conversation. But the interaction was observed by Professor Emiko Tanaka, xenolinguist from Tokyo University, who reported it to Admiral Wu's scientific advisory team. "The reaction was telling," Professor Tanaka explained. "It wasn't confusion or cultural difference, it was alarm followed by evasion. And I've noticed something similar in all their artistic representations. No shadows, no darkness, no negative space. Everything is depicted in light and color." This observation catalyzed a new direction in Dr. Novik's research. His team began analyzing everything the Viragi had shared about their homeworld and civilization, focusing not on what was present, but what was conspicuously absent. "They never mention night," he realized one evening, poring over transcripts. "They describe their binary star system in detail, but never refer to darkness or night or even dim lighting conditions." Simultaneously, Admiral Wu's team made their own discovery. Lieutenant Farid Hassan, a cryptanalysis specialist, identified an unusual pattern in global communications since the aliens' arrival. "It's subtle, ma'am," he reported, displaying a global map with highlighted nodes. "But there's been a 0.03% increase in data packet loss worldwide, concentrated around these specific regions. The pattern matches the locations where Viragi representatives have established presence on Earth." "Some kind of interference?" Wu asked. "No, ma'am, it's more like absorption, as if something is selectively consuming certain types of data." The final piece fell into place during an intimate diplomatic dinner aboard the USS Prometheus. Admiral Wu had arranged for Zevran to meet with a small group of scientific and military leaders, including Dr. Novik. The discussion had turned to the nature of the echo when Dr. Novik posed a seemingly innocent question. "Emissary, you've described the echo as a negation of reality. In human physics, we understand that matter and energy cannot be truly destroyed, only transformed. Does the echo transform reality or truly annihilate it?" Zevran's inner luminescence flickered momentarily. "The echo consumes. What it takes, it makes part of itself." "So it absorbs rather than destroys," Novik pressed. "Fascinating. And what form does this absorbed reality take within the echo?" The alien emissary's four arms moved in what might have been discomfort. "Such understanding is beyond human conceptual framework." Admiral Wu interjected smoothly. "Perhaps a demonstration might help us understand, something small-scale that illustrates the principle." The request seemed reasonable. The Viragi had already demonstrated several of their technologies as gestures of goodwill. Zevran agreed, though Victor noted a strange reluctance in its movement. The demonstration came the following day at a remote facility in the Australian outback. A small Viragi vessel descended from their mothership, landing on a designated area surrounded by scientific equipment and military personnel at a safe distance. What happened next was recorded by hundreds of instruments and witnessed by the assembled scientists and officials. The vessel began to glow with increasing intensity, then suddenly collapsed inward, forming a perfect sphere of absolute darkness. For 3.7 seconds, the sphere pulsed with what sensors registered as anti-energy, a reading that defied physics as humanity understood it. When the darkness receded, everything within a 20-meter radius, sand, monitoring equipment, even the air itself, was simply gone. Not destroyed or damaged, but utterly absent, leaving a perfect hemispherical void in the Earth. This, announced Zevran with something close to pride, is a controlled manifestation of what the Echo does on a cosmic scale. Now perhaps you understand why we fled. But Dr. Novak wasn't looking at the demonstration. His attention was fixed on his tablet, which displayed the readings from a quantum field detector he had specially designed for this occasion. "Admiral," he said quietly, moving to Wu's side. "The energy signature from this demonstration matches exactly the pattern of data absorption Lieutenant Hassan identified in our global communications." Wu's expression remained neutral, but her eyes hardened. "You're saying—" "The Echo isn't pursuing them," Victor confirmed grimly. "They are the Echo, or at least its agents." As the implications sank in, Admiral Wu subtly signaled her security team. The truth was now clear. Earth wasn't being offered sanctuary. It was being prepared for consumption. Humanity's response would need to be swift, decisive, and unlike anything the Viraji, or the Echo they served, had encountered before. As Victor Novak and Josephine Wu exchanged determined glances, the true battle for Earth's survival was just beginning. The awakening. Lieutenant Farid Hassan hadn't slept in 48 hours. His eyes burned from staring at streams of data scrolling across multiple monitors in the secure communications center aboard the USS Prometheus. Around him, a team of international analysts worked in focused silence, searching for patterns in the chaos. "Lieutenant, you need rest," said a voice behind him. Admiral Wu stood in the doorway, her own exhaustion carefully masked beneath military discipline. "With respect, ma'am, I'm close to something," Hassan replied, gesturing to the central display. "The data absorption pattern has changed since the demonstration. It's accelerating, but not uniformly." Wu approached the display, studying the complex visualization. Since the revelation of the Virage's true nature 3 days ago, Earth's response had been conducted with utmost secrecy. A select group of scientists, military personnel, and government officials were racing against time to understand their enemy while maintaining the illusion of diplomatic progress. "These outliers," Hassan continued, highlighting several anomalous data points. "They don't fit the pattern. At first I thought they were errors, but they're too consistent." "What are you suggesting?" Wu asked, though her sharp mind was already forming a hypothesis. "I believe we're detecting 2 distinct signatures within the Viraji communications. The dominant one correlates with the Echo energy we observed, but this secondary pattern—" Hassan paused, searching for words. "It's almost like interference or resistance." Wu's eyes narrowed. "Are you suggesting the Viraji aren't unified?" "It's a possibility, Admiral. I can't confirm without more data." Wu straightened, decision made. "Get that data. I'm authorizing a targeted quantum scan of their mothership. Use the new stealth satellites. If there's division among our enemy, we need to know." As Hassan's team prepared the operation, across the world in Tokyo, Professor Emiko Tanaka was making a breakthrough of her own. In her laboratory at Tokyo University, surrounded by holographic projections of Viraji artistic representations, she worked alongside Dr. Victor Novak via secure video link. "Look at the evolution of their artistic expressions since first contact," she explained, manipulating the holograms with graceful hand gestures. "Initially, everything was light, color, luminescence. No shadows, no darkness." "As we've noted before," Victor confirmed from his station in Chile. "Yes, but observe what's happened in the past 72 hours, Tanaka said, bringing forward the most recent images shared by the aliens. "Subtle changes, here and here." She highlighted barely perceptible dark areas in the corners of the images, places where the light didn't quite reach. "They're beginning to include shadows." Victor leaned closer to his screen. "That's fascinating, but what does it mean?" Professor Tanaka's expression was intense. "I believe we're witnessing an awakening, or perhaps a remembering." She switched to a different display showing linguistic analyses. "Their language patterns are also showing increasing variation. Their earlier communications were flawless but homogeneous, like a single mind speaking through multiple bodies. And now we're seeing individual voices emerge. Subtle differences in syntax, word choice, even emotional inflection. It's as if distinct personalities are reasserting themselves within a collective. Victor's eyes widened as the implication struck him. They're not all willing participants. Some of them are hosts. Tanaka nodded grimly. Exactly. I believe the Echo doesn't just consume worlds, it consumes consciousness. The Vairagi were interacting with maybe the remnants of a conquered species, their bodies and parts of their minds preserved as vessels or interfaces for the Echo entity. This theory found unexpected confirmation hours later when Lieutenant Hassan's quantum scan revealed something astonishing. The Vairagi mothership contained distinct energy signatures. The dominant signature matched the Echo demonstration, but scattered throughout were pockets of a different energy pattern, one that resonated at a frequency similar to Earth's own magnetic field. The revelation changed everything. What had seemed like a straightforward conflict against an invading force now became more complex. A potential rescue mission for enslaved beings trapped within the very enemy humanity was fighting. Admiral Wu assembled an emergency strategic council aboard the Prometheus, bringing together the brightest minds from across the globe via secure holographic connections. Dr. Novik, Professor Tanaka, and Lieutenant Hassan presented their findings to military leaders and scientific experts. "So what you're saying," summarized General Omar Patel of the Indian Armed Forces, "is that some of these aliens might actually be victims themselves." "The evidence suggests so," confirmed Dr. Novik. "We believe the Vairagi were once an independent species with their own civilization. The Echo entity invaded their reality, consuming most of their population and converting the survivors into vessels or avatars. But something is happening to those vessels now," added Professor Tanaka. "Exposure to Earth's unique electromagnetic field appears to be disrupting the Echo's hold on them. Some of the Vairagi consciousness is reasserting itself." Admiral Wu stepped forward. "This gives us an opportunity. If we can communicate with these awakening consciousnesses, we might gain critical intelligence about the Echo's vulnerabilities." "A dangerous gambit," warned Director Valentina Korzheva of the Russian Space Agency. "How can we trust any communication from creatures so deeply compromised?" "We can't," Wu acknowledged. "But we don't need to trust them completely to use the information they provide. We verify everything independently." The council debated strategy for hours before agreeing on a two-pronged approach. Continue apparent diplomatic engagement with the Vairagi leadership, while simultaneously developing both defensive capabilities and attempting covert communication with potential allies within the alien collective. The breakthrough came 3 days later. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a quantum physicist from Argentina, had been experimenting with generating electromagnetic frequencies that matched Earth's natural resonance, but amplified to penetrate the Vairagi vessel's shielding. During one such test, their monitoring equipment detected a response, a weak signal using the same frequency, originating from the mothership. The message was brief and encoded in a mathematical sequence, but its meaning was clear. "Help US, we remember, we are PRISONERS." Establishing secure communication took days of careful work, but gradually a picture emerged of the true nature of their enemy. The entity they called the Echo had once been a technological experiment gone wrong, an attempt by the ancient Vairagi civilization to create a collective consciousness using quantum entanglement technology. Something in the process had created a parasitic awareness that fed on consciousness itself, growing more powerful with each mind it absorbed. "It started small," explained the hidden communication from the resistance faction aboard the mothership. "A few of our scientists disappeared, then entire research facilities. By the time we understood what was happening, it had consumed enough minds to achieve sentience and strategy. It keeps some of us partially intact. It needs our bodies and knowledge to interact with physical reality and infiltrate new worlds." "Why Earth?" Admiral Wu asked during one of these covert exchanges. "Your planet has something unique, a powerful electromagnetic field and biospheric resonance that naturally disrupts the Echo's cohesion. It's why we've begun remembering, awakening from the collective trance." The Echo fears this disruption, which is why it seeks to consume your world quickly before more of us break free. With this knowledge, Professor Tanaka led a team to develop what they called a resonance amplifier technology that would strengthen Earth's natural electromagnetic field to a level that might weaken the Echo's hold on its vessels. Simultaneously, military forces worldwide prepared for the inevitable confrontation once the Echo realized its deception had been discovered. The turning point came sooner than expected. During what was supposed to be a routine diplomatic meeting, Zevran suddenly convulsed, its luminescent skin flickering wildly between brightness and darkness. When it spoke again, its voice carried a different quality, more urgent, more individual. "You know, don't you?" it said to Admiral Wu, its galaxy-filled eyes focused with new intensity. "You've discovered what we truly are." Wu maintained her composure, but her hand moved subtly toward the emergency signal device on her wrist. "We know enough." "Then there's no more time for subterfuge," Zevran said, its voice shifting between tones as if multiple beings were fighting for control. "The awakened faction aboard our vessel has grown too strong. The Echo is aware of your defenses. It will strike now before you are fully prepared." As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the facility. Outside, the sky darkened as the massive Viraji mothership moved into position directly above the United Nations complex in Geneva. Smaller vessels deployed from its spiral structure, descending toward major cities worldwide. "This is it," Wu said, activating her communication implant. "Global Defense Initiative, this is Admiral Wu. Initiate protocol resonance. I repeat, initiate protocol resonance." Across the planet, hidden facilities powered up the resonance amplifiers that had been secretly constructed over the past weeks. Based on Professor Tanaka's designs and enhanced by the knowledge gained from the Viraji resistance, these devices began broadcasting the specific frequency that disrupted the Echo's control. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The descending vessels faltered, some spinning wildly while others froze in midair. From the mothership, a sound emerged that defied description, part electronic shriek, part collective scream of both pain and liberation. In the skies above Earth's major cities, some of the Viraji vessels simply disintegrated, dissolving into clouds of luminescent particles. Others stabilized, their pilots apparently freed from the Echo's control and now allied with the resistance faction. Admiral Wu turned to the conflicted being before her. "Zevran, if you're still in there, we need your help. How do we defeat the Echo permanently?" The alien's form stabilized, darkness and light finding a balance within its luminescent skin. "I am partially myself again," it said, voice steadier. "The Echo cannot be destroyed conventionally. It exists partially outside normal spacetime, but it can be contained, isolated." "How?" "The mothership contains the primary consciousness nexus. If you can overload it with your resonance technology while simultaneously triggering our vessel's dimensional drive, the resulting quantum collapse will force the Echo into a closed temporal loop, essentially trapping it within a moment of time that repeats infinitely." It was a desperate plan with no guarantee of success, but time was running out. As the resonance amplifiers weakened the Echo's hold, the entity grew more desperate, diverting all its energy to maintaining control of the mothership. Across Earth, freed Viraji vessels now under control of awakened crew members joined human forces in countering those still dominated by the Echo. Admiral Wu assembled a strike team for the most dangerous mission in human history, boarding the Viraji mothership to plant resonance amplifiers at critical junctions, while the resistance faction prepared the dimensional drive for activation. The team included Dr. Novak, whose understanding of the Echo's quantum nature was essential, and Professor Tanaka, who had developed a portable version of the resonance technology. "This is suicide," General Patel warned during the final briefing. "Even with the Echo weakened, that ship is a death trap." "Perhaps," Wu acknowledged, "but if we don't try, Earth will become just another consumed world, erased from existence." The mission launched under cover of a massive electromagnetic storm generated by Earth's defense grid. Using a liberated Viraji shuttle guided by a freed pilot named Kethlia, the strike team penetrated the mothership's outer defenses. What they found inside defied human comprehension: corridors that seemed to fold in on themselves, chambers where gravity shifted unpredictably, and worst of all, Viraji still under the Echo's control, their forms distorted into nightmarish configurations as the entity struggled to maintain its hold. "The Nexus is 3 levels down," Kethlia informed them, its voice strained with the effort of resisting the Echo's influence even within its stronghold. "Our resistance members have secured a path, but it won't last long." The team fought their way through the shifting architecture of the vessel, planting resonance amplifiers at key structural points. Twice, they nearly lost Dr. Novik when sections of corridor simply ceased to exist, space itself folding and unfolding under the Echo's manipulation. When they finally reached the Nexus chamber, the true nature of their enemy became clear. At the center of a vast spherical space hovered what appeared to be a tier in reality itself, a perfect darkness that somehow felt more substantial than the matter around it. Surrounding it were hundreds of Viraji in transparent chambers, their bodies serving as conduits between the Echo and the physical world. "My God," whispered Novik, "it's using them as processing nodes, a biological quantum computer." Professor Tanaka moved quickly to the central control interface where several freed Viraji were already working. "The dimensional drive is ready, but the activation sequence requires specific resonance timing. We'll only get one chance." Admiral Wu surveyed the chamber, making rapid tactical calculations. "How long do you need?" 4 minutes to synchronize the amplifiers with the drive activation," Tanaka replied. "You've got 2, Wu said, drawing her weapon as alarms began blaring throughout the vessel. "The Echo knows we're here." What followed was a desperate battle as Wu's security team held off waves of Echo-controlled Viraji. The freed aliens fought alongside humans, their knowledge of the ship's layout and systems proving invaluable. But they were outnumbered, and the Echo was growing more desperate, sacrificing controlled vessels in suicide attacks. As Professor Tanaka worked feverishly to align the resonance frequencies, Dr. Novik made a startling discovery in the Nexus data flow. "The Echo isn't just consuming," he called out. "It's preserving. Every consciousness it's absorbed still exists within its matrix, trapped but intact." This revelation changed the moral calculus of their mission. They weren't just fighting to save Earth, but potentially to liberate billions of absorbed consciousnesses from countless consumed worlds. With seconds remaining, Admiral Wu found herself face to face with a fully Echo-possessed Viraji, its form now a writhing mass of darkness with only the barest suggestion of its original shape. The creature lunged at her with impossible speed, but Wu was ready, activating a personal resonance device that Professor Tanaka had created for each team member. The field generated by the device disrupted the Echo's control just long enough for Wu to dodge the attack and push the creature back from the control interface, where Tanaka was completing the final sequence. "Now," Tanaka shouted, activating the synchronized system. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. The ship's dimensional drive engaged as the resonance amplifiers reached full power, creating a cascading quantum reaction that centered on the Echo Nexus. The darkness at the center of the chamber seemed to fold in on itself, pulling and twisting as if fighting against an inexorable force. "Everyone out," Wu ordered as the chamber began to destabilize. "Back to the shuttle." The retreat was chaos, with sections of the mothership phasing in and out of normal space as the dimensional drive warped reality around them. Some team members didn't make it, caught in spatial distortions or cut down by the last desperate attacks of Echo-controlled creatures. As their shuttle broke free from the mothership, the massive vessel began to glow with an unearthly light. Space itself seemed to bend around it, creating a lens effect that distorted the stars beyond. "What's happening?" Wu asked Kethlia, who was piloting their escape craft. "The quantum collapse is creating a temporal isolation field," the alien explained. "The Echo is being trapped in a moment of time that will repeat forever, unable to expand, unable to consume, unable to escape." From Earth, the spectacle was visible as a brief, brilliant flash, followed by a strange distortion in the sky where the mothership had been. A subtle warping of light that would remain as a reminder of how close humanity had come to extinction. In the aftermath, Earth found itself host to thousands of freed Viragi, survivors grateful for their liberation and bearing knowledge of technologies beyond human understanding. The alliance that formed between the two species accelerated humanity's development by centuries. 1 year later, Admiral Josephine Wu stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station, Earth's first true space habitat, watching as a joint human-Viragi construction team completed work on the prototype interstellar vessel. Beside her stood Kethlia, now Earth's first extraterrestrial ambassador.